model, which was done by a young animator named David Allen for the movie The Howling.
How big was that on screen?
9 feet tall.
9 feet tall. So how do they do that? They just keep enlarging it?
Well, what they do is they film it on very small sets. Makes it look very big.
I see.
And to bring it to life, as that Medusa was brought to life, consists of changing the position very slightly, shooting a single frame, changing it again, shooting another frame. It's a kind of flip book effect, you know, but in 3 dimensions. King Kong was the same.
King Kong was about that big?
King Kong was actually, the original King Kong was actually 18 inches tall.
Then how was Fay Wray in King Kong's hand?
Well, that was a prop. They did construct a couple of life-size props, including a big foot, a big hand, and a big head for some close-ups.
So sometimes when the giant beast in a movie seems to be so gigantic, it's just a little picture, and then the human being in the picture, how is the human being made to look so small in relation to the...
Well, there are different ways of doing that. I mean, basically, there are different composite techniques in which you can combine a small model with live action.
And you shoot it twice and put it together?
Exactly.
And then one looks bigger, looks bigger than the other.
Right.
Like Lily Tomlin, when she seemed to fall down the sink.
Right.
Is that 2 different pictures?
Well,
or they build a huge sink?
Yeah, and sometimes they'll build gigantic props, you know. In The Incredible Shrinking Man, they built giant, you know, pencils, giant beds, giant stuff. That's one of the...
Now we've got a very special treat for you. Dick Smith brought along some test film that he shot in his garage while he was working developing the body makeup for Altered States. This is the real behind-the-scenes stuff.
This is really home movies, but it showed us some tests of what we could do deforming the face and the head. Later on you'll see his body deformed also. This is a so-called bladder technique which I developed for the film. Here's a kind of ripple effect that we were trying out up his arm. We abandoned this particular one because it looked too regular, it looked too unnatural. But it shows the technique of putting bladders underneath a latex skin. There's a false latex chest all over his chest, which we went past quickly. There's a shrinking arm for you, which wasn't used in the film. This was the first rubber suit that we made. Poor Bill Hurt is struggling madly in that thing. Here's the same suit distorted with an image in a distorting mirror so that it looks as if it's wobbling and wiggling and doing odd things.
It's amazing stuff. We have a still picture of what he looked like after you got all done. I think we have a still picture. Now let's hold that picture a minute. Is any of that Mr. Hurt?
No, not at all. That's an enormous head that was made big enough so the camera could actually go down the throat. It was never used.
You mean down the esophagus with gun and camera by Dick Smith?
That's what they were going to do, but the director changed his mind.
You not only do this, but you invent this, is that right? You are not, when they say makeup artist, they mean makeup artist, and when they say makeup, they don't mean mascara. They mean you create entire illusions with faces and with bodies.
Right? You have to, whatever the script calls for, you have to figure out a way to do it. And that's half the fun in this business, is that you're always challenged by some new problem. And to solve that is what's half the fun.
Some of the people who are objecting to violence in movies now say that one of the reasons they object is that people like you, Dick, have gotten so good that what used to be only suggested in the movies is now very graphic, because you can actually decapitate a person in a movie and see it happen through illusion.
Yeah. Actually, Dave Everett, the co-author of Film Tricks, and I discovered that the first special effect was a decapitation. It was done in 1893. So I think that there's always been a kind of appetite for that sort of spectacle. I'm sure the people in 1893 were as shocked by that as they are by a lot of what's going on.
What do you think about this kind of stuff?
I try to avoid that. I try to turn down scripts that are pure, you know, blood and gore, just for the blood and gore effect. I have done, of course, some gory things, blowing off a hand in Taxi Driver. I did some unusual gouging effects in The Sentinel and so forth. But I prefer to do the good character stuff, the interesting things. Altered States with the so-called mole running up the arm. That's the sort of thing I like to do.
You like your work?
Of course, sure.
If you want to know the secrets, read this man's book. If you want to go to the movies and know the secrets, then you have to skip the book. But if you want to know how it's done, he even will tell you in the book very graphically how Chris Reeve flies in Superman. Thanks very much for being with us.
Pleasure,
and stay away from my face. It's bad enough the way it is now, Dick. We have our own brand of special effects here on the Today